So I took another 0 day, double zeroed here in Marion. Leg was a little bit sore, so I thought maybe one more day to heal up, and a room for 50 bucks, hard to beat. So I've eaten 1 fried chicken, 3 pizzas, an order of hot wings, several burritos, a couple of microwave pizzas, Vienna sausages and crackers, 2 liters of Diet Coke. It's been a good break, but I'm ready to get back to the trail. Marion has a free shuttle, so I've already called them and they're going to pick me up and take me to the trail. All right, double zero is over. Back at the headquarters for the recreation area. Getting back on trail. Gonna have a little bit of up. I'm not sure how far I'm gonna go today. I'm feeling good, even though the pack is heavy. 1 mile in, it's a little bit steep. It's a little bit rocky, but my legs are feeling good. I'm thinking the extra day off was a good idea. Not a big deal. I just thought it was noteworthy just how many ferns were in this section. Came from that way. Trail's flattened out for a little bit. I think I have a little bit more up coming up. Feeling pretty good. Oh, there's not really anything to see this way. Hi, dear. Hi, snake. Whoa, it was fast. Well, I'm about 5.5 miles in. Knees, legs feel okay. Pretty much done with the uphill for another, it's going to be downhill for a few miles and mostly flat for a couple of miles. About 7 miles in all before it starts to go up. And by then, I think it'll be about time to find a spot to camp. So I'm feeling good, but I've got a few miles of downhill. And if that leg's going to start hurting, or the knees, that's when it'll start. So here I go. Sign says this is the view of Walker Mountain. I'm not sure which one of those is Walker Mountain, but it's a view. These pink ones have more of a smell than the rhododendron ones. Just stopped for a break, grabbed a liter of water, made myself drink about a liter of water. Feeling good, still got more downhill to go. I understand this little side trail taking me to a 1890 farm, something part of the Settlers Museum. So I like stuff like that, so I'm going to go check it out, at least for a little bit. I don't know if you can hear it on here. This power line's making way more noise than I think it ought to. So this is very cool. They say you could stay the night here if you wanted to. It's like 4 in the afternoon, so I'm not stopping. There's a shelter a couple miles back, Chatfield Shelter. A lot of hikers there. Already filled with people, so I wasn't going to stop anyway, but sorry I didn't get any footage of that. There's any kind of trail magic you could need. I'm carrying a lot of food already. It's very nice that they have this here for us. Came down from over there. Getting ready to cross the highway here in a little bit. Took more time at the museum than I planned. It's like 5 o'clock now. I still had plenty of time to make it to where I wanted to camp. So whenever I was signing the register at the schoolhouse, there was a lot of entries with today's date. I'm hoping most of those folks were at the shelter last night, kept on going. Kind of worried that I'm going to get to where I was wanting to camp and it's going to have a whole bunch of other hikers there. And just like that, I'm to the road. I'm going to go see if this gas station has a fountain Diet Coke. They probably have food too. They have pizza. Well, I'm already carrying too much food, so. Not much of a road walk. To go across the highway, I'm coming up here. That restaurant looks like it's pretty good, but I'm carrying a lot of food already. Now I'm gonna head over that way. All right. I'll be going up that way. That Relax Inn, from the reviews I've seen, I think it's kind of like the hotel I stayed at, the Travel Inn in Marion. Cheap, clean, but old. Hi, dear. Happy little bridge over a happy little stream. Getting pretty close to where I want to camp. I think there will be a spring that I can get water from. Came from that direction. Looks like I'm going to be walking along the edge of this field, pasture, whatever, for a little ways. So it's about a half mile of pasture. Crossed a cattle guard. There were some cows back there. And now I am done. Gonna climb over the fence. It's 7:15. I think I'll start looking for a campsite here pretty quick. So it's still like 10 minutes till 7, but I think this is where I'm going to set up camp. Flat. And blue blazes, I think, lead to a water source, so this is it. This is the trail to the spring. So I got my water. Just not trying to remember if I took video of the stream I got water at. Anyway, so ready to set up camp. Here's a good flat spot. And there's a Widowmaker like directly above it. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. Not sure if I want to set up my tent or not. This spot looks all right. So yesterday I did 13 miles, pain-free. So I'm glad I took the extra day off. Today I'm starting with a little uphill. Glad I camped where I did because I didn't want to carry 3 liters of water up here. Came from over there. The way I understand, this shelter was moved to the park in Damascus, if you remember seeing that. So picnic tables here, privy's still here, and there are spots for a few tents. Coming up from down there, and it's getting a little bit steep. Not a lot of uphill at any one time today, but it's a little steep in spots. Shin and knees still feel good. Checked the weather forecast last time I had service. It looks like it's going to be clear today, but thunderstorm overnight. Get about a mile of downhill. Seeing a lot of rhododendrons in bloom today. About halfway up the 1.5 miles of up that I had. But you don't pass up rocks like this. I'm going to sit down and take a break. So I'm done with the 1.5 miles of up. Now I have 1.5 miles of down. A lot of ferns over here. And that last spring was my favorite kind of water source. Water source at the top of the up, so I didn't have to carry my water up. Now I've got a liter that I'm going to carry down because I think it's a few miles to the next water source. Just crossed the road. It looks like I'm going to be going up that way. This is the North Fork of the Holston River. The guide says not to drink out of it because of pasture runoff. I'm going to find a shady spot to sit down for a break. Crossed several fences today over stiles like this. This one's almost twice as tall as the others. Came from down there. And going up there. Don't mind me, just go about your squirrely business. This is the Knot Mall Branch Shelter. It's almost 4 o'clock, so I'm going to keep going. Gonna grab some more water. Got about 5 miles to where I was wanting to make camp. So it's 4.5 miles to where I want to make camp now. And after this bridge, I've got 1 mile of up, 1 mile of down, and then just little ups and downs until I make camp. This is Lick Creek. And that's the bridge for Lick Creek. And Lick Creek is running cold. This is going to be my water source for the night. The place where I plan to camp is about a mile away, 300 foot up. So it didn't storm that hard after all last night. Had some rain early on. Getting a late start out of camp. Got 4 miles and 1,800 foot of elevation gain to start the day off with. I'm glad to be doing it in the morning rather than the evening. Then the rest of the day shouldn't be that bad. But going up that way, the campsite was right over there. On my way up, I can see that there's been a fire through here. And the shelter at the top used to be a fire warden's cabin. So maybe the reason it's a shelter now is because he got fired. I came from down there. I'm about halfway up, or 2 out of the 4 miles, but I've done 1,200 foot of elevation gain. I've only got 600 more between here and the top, so it should be a little less steep, and the trees are starting to thin out a little bit. It's nothing compared to some alpine lakes I've seen, but here's a pond on a mountain. It's a little scuzzy on the surface, but the way I understand it, it's spring fed on one side. I've still got half a liter of water, so I don't need any. Still going up. Here's the Chestnut Knob Shelter. Used to be a fire warden's cabin. Not bad. It's felt like it could rain all this morning. It's still just kind of partly cloudy. But I'm going to be going that way. Coming from up there. Heading down that way. A little bit steep, but it's downhill. Another area that obviously burned not long ago. I might not have another great big up like this morning, but some of these little ups are kind of steep. Still hoping to do big miles, close to 20, something like that. We'll see what it's like whenever the storm starts. I might change my mind. It's noon. I've been walking along this ridge line, and it gets pretty rocky at times. It takes a lot of extra attention to choose your steps. So I'm not really going as fast as I was hoping to do. Wind's picking up. About an hour before I can expect rain. I just got done talking to a hiker that had stayed the night in that stone shelter up on top of the hill. And he says that they had one heck of a storm. Played a recording that he had of the wind and hail. And we got it pretty mild down 4 miles away where I was at. I also double checked the weather forecast. And this is not going to rain on me today. Probably going to rain on me tonight. So I'll stop looking at the sky, worrying about rain. And I'll just try to pick a good camping spot. There's a lot of big rocks around. Looks like there's a hole over there. Anyway, the path has been weaving in and out, over and around. Kind of a neat section of trail, a little bit different. So I came from over there, and now I've got about 3 miles of downhill. Halfway down, I'll come to a water source. I let myself run out. It's been pretty warm, so hopefully it's easy downhill. This is Hunting Camp Creek. I'm 4 miles from Laurel Creek where I wanted to camp. And just right over there on some higher ground, there's a campsite. But it's 5 o'clock, so I'm going to keep going. Only about 850 foot of elevation gain in the next 4 miles, and it's all going to be right up at the front. So I think I ought to be able to make decent time. There's Laurel Creek and the bridge over it. I got to get down there first. I think this will be my water source for tonight. So I started hearing thunder while I was getting my water. And right after the trail crossed the creek in the road, there's a big flat space, and there had to have been 20 tents set up there. And in the notes, somebody told me there was this spot down here. And so this is now my spot. That little dead branch there ain't scaring me. Look for a nice spot that doesn't look like it's going to have runoff. Build me a fire. Set up my tent. This is all right. Thunder's getting more frequent and louder. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit. But I've got my backpack underneath the tent already while I'm setting it up. Yes, it's raining. And yes, I made a fire anyway. I don't know how long the rain will last, and I've been looking forward to having a campfire all day. Oh wow, that's really bright. Alright, so I probably stayed next to my fire a little bit longer than I should have. It's 10 minutes till 8. My fire's still burning, but the rain started coming down heavier than the little bit of cover I had next to the fire. So, making camp, need to make dinner and go to bed. This is Casa de Stash. It rained pretty good last night, but I stayed dry in the tent. Didn't have water run underneath or anything. I just got done having my coffee and looking at the trail for today. It's going to be a dry section of trail. Water sources are few and far between, and a lot of them are drying up. But there's a outpost, convenience store, something 7 miles up the trail, so I'm going to head that way. One hiker already went by and said, wow, this was a nice spot. If I had just gone a little bit farther, I would have had a picnic table. Didn't say anything about how glad I was to have it to myself. I'm about about a mile in, about a half hour into the hike. Had an uphill, but it was like 600 foot in a mile and a half, so that's not bad. Actually leveled out a little bit here. I might be getting close to the top. Only 2 other hikers went by. They didn't even mention how nice my campsite was. Wonder if the rest of them got up early, which I doubt, or if there's a bubble of hikers behind me. So I've got a few more miles up at this elevation, and I hope by the time I'm heading downhill, that fog has already moved on. And then on this side of the ridge, the trail, the dirt is dry. Kind of makes it seem like that thunderstorm came along yesterday just to ruin my campfire. Been a fire through here. Looks like all the winds put some trees down recently. Hello, snake. Maybe he thinks I can't see him. Just came from that way, and now I've got 1.5 miles of a road walk. But in a 1/2 mile, I might be able to get a Diet Coke, maybe a bacon, egg, and cheese burger. You know, little stuff like that. Looks a lot hazier on the camera than it does in person. So I didn't look to see what time I went in, but got my bacon, egg, and cheese burger, drank a couple Diet Cokes, got another mile on the road. I think I want to try to do 13 more miles. I did 7. There's a shelter in 12, and that's probably going to be the next best water source. So I've got 1.5 liters on me. Looks like it's going to be a hot day. Gonna be going over there. I'm off the road. Apparently they have trouble with people dumping deer carcasses around here. A lot of broken glass right here in the parking area. 12 more miles. I got this. It's like 1 o'clock. Lots of campsites around here. I just came down from the road. Ran into a hiker that I had met on the Continental Divide in New Mexico. So I had to stop and talk to him for a while. So still got about 12 miles to go. It's going to be dry. And it's going to be uphill, or some of it is. So I came from over there. That first mile was over 600 foot of elevation gain, and it kicked my butt. So now should be a little bit of up and a little bit of down. 6 miles or so, there's a spring where people have been saying that it's dry. So, like I said, I've got 1.5 liters to stretch out over, I guess now it's 11 miles. This has pretty much been the trail. Some ups and downs, sometimes steep, going along a ridge line, which is why there wasn't any water up here. I am, let's see, it's 3:30. I've got just under 6.5 miles left, and I have about 1/2 liter of water left. And then there's still a spring up here that people say have been dry. We'll see how bad it is. All right, it's almost 5:30. About 1.5 to a shelter that has streams, they say. I don't know how close they are. Or 2.5 to a stream. and I think it's about 3 where I was wanting to make camp. But that's mostly downhill, so I expect to make good time. Just finished off the last of my water. I should be in good shape. There's the trail up there. I wasn't planning on going to this shelter. Still not planning on staying at it. Another hiker has leg pain, sounds a lot like what I had. He's a doctor, so he knows all about ibuprofen and Tylenol and all that, but he hadn't taped it. So I'm going to meet him here, give him some tape and show him how to tape up his leg. I didn't think the shelter was that far, else I would have left my bag up at the top. I can also grab some water here, I think. Darn it, I forgot to get a shot of the shelter. It was a very basic shelter, and there was a lot of people around. Water source was barely a trickle, so I drank a liter, and I'm banking on this stream here in about a half mile, flowing good, filling up, then going another quarter mile. Campsite's supposed to have water, but I don't know if I trust that, so we'll see. It's almost 6:30, so I'll actually be making it to camp about the same time or a little bit earlier than I did last night. All of a sudden I ran into a big bunch of whatever these white flowers, pink or whatever. So this stream isn't flowing much better, but it is still flowing. About a quarter mile back, the same stream bed was dry, so I'm going to fill up, get enough water for tonight and to start tomorrow, just in case the stream in another quarter mile isn't flowing. All right, there were a few people at the campsite I was wanting to go to. Not a big deal. There's another campsite on the map 3/4 of a mile. But if I see another good flat spot, I've got enough water to camp tonight and start tomorrow. I just said that, and there's a flat spot. It's pretty close to the water, but I don't think it's supposed to rain tonight. So let me just see how to get down there. Here we go. This is where I'm going to set up for the night. It's 7 o'clock, so I still have plenty of daylight to make camp, make dinner. So is this place as good as the last tent spot? I don't know. Is it as flat as I thought it was whenever I was up on the trail? No. The tent was pretty wet this morning, so I had to set it up just to see if I could get it to air dry a little bit. Wet on the outside because of the rain. I was dragging the Tyvek out as I packed my bag, so whenever I went to take the tent down, it landed on the ground. So now it is both wet and dirty. But now I can focus on making a fire, making dinner. Might not even sleep in the tent. I might just cowboy camp out here somewhere.